In this story, a girl named Koreah excitedly jumps on her elder brother, Kiro, to wake him up from sleep. She practically cracks his spine but goes further by locking his ankles and doing some other flashy skills that almost render him paralyzed. Eventually, all his joints are out of order, and she excitedly greets him. When Kiro mentions that her forceful actions almost permanently put him to sleep with their deceased grandfather, Koreah takes it as a compliment that her skills are heavenly. She soon tells him breakfast is ready and calls him downstairs. Apparently, Kiro realizes that this morning is like any other morning. He goes down for breakfast and finds out that the whole plate is full of tomatoes. Koreah thanks Kiro for being able to do her morning practice on him, but he's confused because he thought she was in the arts and crafts club. She admits she is, but the club is so vicious that the club leader can break concrete blocks with one finger. Kiro is certain she has joined a crazy bandwagon, but she adds that they'll be climbing the mountains during Golden Week for a 3-day survival program. He tries to point out that there's something wrong with her club activities, but Koreah thinks it okay and expresses her hopes to run into a bear at least. Kiro advises her to give up so she doesn't get unalived, but Koreah reminds him their mom said she fought a tiger in India, according to the letter she sent. Kiro reminds her not to compare herself with their mother, who stopped being human ages ago. He points out that their mom could no longer be challenged by anyone in sports, so she traveled overseas to experience more. However, Koreah insists that she's training for the mom's training. Later, Kiro gets to school and spots a guy named Konoe Subaru acting as a butler to a woman named Maid. Because of how glamorous the popular Subaru is, the female students standing nearby scream in excitement. Kiro realizes most of the girls fawn over Subaru, but he only pays attention to Kanade. Nearby, some guy named Yamato expresses his jealousy because he wants to be Kanade's butler too. Kiro thinks the whole thing is overrated, but Yamato reminds him that Kanade is the school's most beautiful lady of the Suzuki group and the school principal's daughter. During the course of the day, Subaru visits Kanade at various points, and this makes the other ladies scream in excitement. At one point, Subaru asks Kanade to wait for him downstairs so he can quickly visit the restroom. While he goes to take a piss, all the girls stare at him all lovey-dovey, which disgusts Subaru. Suddenly, one of the girls approaches Kiro to help him clean off something on his face, but Kiro retracts as if she had pointed a gun at him. Shocked, he asks Yamato to get the thing off his face for him, but Yamato violently shakes him and demands to know if he's into boys. When Kiro replies that he's not, Yamato points out that he never talks to any of the girls in their class or relates to them. Apparently, there are rumors going on about him that he's the guy that's not interested in girls. This annoys Kiro, but Yamato asks him if he was also checking out Subaru earlier. Kiro denies it, but Yamato wonders when he became attracted to men since they're always sharing dirty videos. When the lady starts staring at him, Kiro runs away to use the bathroom. While running, he slams into another girl, and he retracts again at the sight of her jugs. The girl talks about a love story, but Kiro runs away in horror and enters the bathroom. While in there, he gets a nasty stomachache and opens one of the stalls. Inside the stall, he finds Subaru wearing female underwear, and they just lock gazes in a moment of colossal embarrassment. Finally, Kiro recognizes Subaru, and he soon laughs and apologizes for opening the door. He wonders why Subaru is wearing female underwear and wonders if he's part of a cursed clan who are forced to wear it. Instead of closing, he loudly concludes that Subaru must just be a pervert, then soon goes out to continue his business. When he steps out, he realizes he shouldn't have spoken badly about Subaru's interests since everyone deserves their privacy. However, he also wonders how a student like Subaru who has brains, looks, and martial arts skills can become a perv. Suddenly, Subaru approaches him from behind and asks him if he saw it. Subaru calls him by his name and asks him the question with a morbid expression on his face. Shocked, Kiro runs back, but doesn't give a direct answer. This annoys Subaru and he accuses Kiro of opening the door so he could see his underwear. Confused, Kiro asks who on earth would try to see his underwear. Kiro insists that he's an adult and he won't be turned on by such kiddie designs. This intrigues Subaru, so he asks him how he knows what designs are on his underwear. When Kiro realizes he's been caught, he tries to explain, but Subaru calls him a perv and lands a punch in his abdomen. The punch knocks our boy backwards, but Subaru wonders why he just stumbled when he hit him hard enough to make him faint. Kiro insists that this is nothing because he's been withstanding worse attacks from his family, which amuses Subaru. Subaru decides to get serious, and he says he'll make Kiro disappear because he knows too much. He assures Kiro he's not taking his life, but he will wipe his memory with the erasing technique his family has possessed for many generations. Apparently, the method is to keep hitting him until he knocks the memory out of his head. When Kiro realizes he's going to pummel him to death, Subaru assures him that he'll only turn up in a hospital soon with amnesia. Kiro goes into a fight stance, and the scenery gets very intense. After building expectations, Kiro starts running away, and Subaru chases him in surprise. Kiro enters the science room and blocks the entrance. but Subaru breaks open the door with one kick, knocking Kinjiro to the ground. When Subaru comes close, Kinjiro swings at him with a mannequin, but Subaru breaks the mannequin with a punch, and our Kinjiro realizes this is the real deal. Subaru moves closer to break him in half, but Kinjiro dodges the hits luckily. Eventually, Subaru lands a direct punch, but Kinjiro is able to block it with his hands. This amuses Subaru, but he promises to eliminate him with his Butler knuckle attack. That name annoys Kinjiro, so he tells Subaru that he has a terrible sense of naming things. Feeling insulted, Subaru decides to bring out his finishing move called the End of the Earth. Eventually, Kinjiro teases Subaru about where he got the names from, and Subaru becomes ashamed because he had expected it to sound cool. Suddenly, Kinjiro realizes that he finds Subaru cute, and he starts to wonder if Yamato is right by accusing him of liking men. Suddenly, a jar of frogs falls from the shelf and almost hits Subaru, but Kinjiro jumps on him so he doesn't get hurt. Sadly, Kinjiro mistakenly opens up Subaru's clothes by the fall, and his hands land on her melons. He watches in shock, but Subaru soon wakes up and punches across the room. Confused, Kinjiro is shocked to know that Subaru's actually a girl. This time, Subaru bluntly promises to take his life because she can't believe he'd touch her chest and gets so excited that he got a nosebleed. Her expression makes him afraid, so Kinjiro tries to explain that his body just reacted. She doesn't listen to him and throws a fire extinguisher into his face. Shortly after, Kinjiro wakes up in the infirmary and thinks about the terrible dream he just had. When he gets up, he notices he's chained to the bed and he wonders what the heck is going on. One of his hands isn't cuffed, and he notices someone sleeping by his side under a blanket. With his free hand, he decides to pull back the blanket, and it turns out to be Kanade. Kinjiro is shocked, but Kanade soon gets up when she realizes he's awake, then excitedly asks him if the restraints hurt. She tells him not to worry because the surgery was a success. She explains that he'll now be their remodeled human being, but Kinjiro screams at the top of his lungs. When he asks what she means, she explains he's no longer human and tells him to try shouting, "Transform." Eventually, he shouts the word, "Transform," and nothing happens in a very anti-climax way. This makes Kanade laugh because he actually believed her. Confused, Kinjiro asks her if she was the one who put these handcuffs on him, and she affirms it. She tells him that taking off the cuffs will break the seal in his right hand, so he asks her why she was sleeping next to him. Amused, she tells him not to worry because she didn't intend to be violated by someone with only one free hand. Shocked, Kinjiro, if she thinks he's a perv, then asks where the nurse is. Kanade explains that the nurse left after she slapped her face with a few wads of cash. Eventually, she climbs the bed and seductively tells him they're the only ones here, and it's up to her whether she takes his life or lets him live. When she inches close, she fantasizes about cutting off his ears or even castrating him. Kinjiro demands to know what she wants. She explains that she's detaining him because he knows her butler's secret. Eventually, Kinjiro remembers what happened, so he asks why Subaru goes to school disguised as a boy, and Kanade explains that the Subaru family has served her family for generations. However, because Subaru was a child and a girl, she couldn't serve as Kanade's butler. When Subaru requested it, Kanade's father allowed her if she agreed to complete high school without anyone knowing she's a girl. This is the requirement to allow her to officially serve as the butler of Kanade's family. Eventually, Kanade apologizes because they have to seal his mouth because he knows too much. When Kinjiro asks about Subaru, Kanade opens the next stall, where Subaru is also chained to the bed. When Kinjiro is shocked, Kanade explains that she tied Subaru up to please him because she thought he'd be pleased. He insists that he's not into that kind of stuff and asks that she free Kanade. Eventually, Kanade removes the mouthguard from Subaru's mouth, so Subaru asks her why she tied her up. She asks Kanade to untie her so she can finally eliminate the pervert, referring to Kinjiro. Kinjiro becomes scared, so Kanade starts until Subaru. When Kinjiro realizes he had made the wrong request, Kanade tells him she'll show him that she was the one who saved him from Subaru's wrath while they were in the science room. When she says that, Kinjiro tells her he understands, and she forces him to thank her for it. When he does that, Kanade decides not to untie Subaru, and Subaru begs her to untie her so she can take the boy's life. Shocked, Kinjiro tells Subaru this is her fault for wearing girls' underwear even though she's cross-dressing. Subaru insists that it'd be disgusting to wear men's underwear, but Kinjiro tells her she needs to restrain her jugs more. Subaru tells him she forgot to do it because it was after gym class. She insists that she'll be fired from being a butler because of him, and she starts to tear up. Eventually, Kanade tells Subaru it's fine because she restrained Kinjiro so she wouldn't have to stop being a butler. Kanade sits near Kinjiro and says Subaru had told her about what he said about his body when he had a nosebleed. She asks him if there's anything special about his body he'd like to tell her, but when he doesn't answer, she decides to ask him directly. She soon cuts open his shirt and tells him to keep quiet while he complains. She starts to run her fingers across his shirt, and his nose starts to bleed terribly. This makes Subaru accuse him of being a perv for having a nosebleed because of his lust for Kanade. However, Kanade realizes that Kinjiro actually gets a nosebleed when a girl touches him, and she asks him if it's an allergy. She calls him a chicken who's just afraid of being touched by girls, and then she repeats his full name 3 times in a creepy way. When she calls him a chicken again, he angrily tells her not to call him a Chicken because he has many horrible memories of being called Chicken because of the way his name is pronounced as Sakamachi Kinjiro. Eventually, Kanade asks him if he wants to cure his phobia, and she offers to help him out if he won't tell anyone Subaru is a girl in exchange even at the cost of his life. She explains that they'll protect his secret and they won't let her father know that they've broken his condition. Kinjiro tells her this sounds like crime, but Kanade states that she's excited by crime partnerships because they're never boring. Kinjiro soon asks what will happen if he breaks the agreement, so she tells him that they'll have to use Subaru's method. Apparently, his unidentifiable corpse will just turn up in the forests of Mount Fuji in a month's time, so Kinjiro probably agrees to the deal. When Kinjiro asks if Subaru is fine with the deal, Subaru explains that she'll obey Lady Kanade's rules. Amused, Kanade asks Kinjiro what happens if he keeps getting touched after he gets a nosebleed, so he explains that he'd probably faint because he won't be able to take it. Immediately, Kanade decides to experiment to see how much touch his body can withstand. She touches his face, but Kinjiro starts to scream for Subaru to save him. The next morning, Koreah enters Kanade's room to wake him up and breaks his bones as usual. As usual, he gets a nosebleed. When he comes downstairs, he considers the house as his only saving grace since he hates his school life. When he opens the door to the bathroom, he's shocked to see Subaru unclad in the bathroom. He immediately turns around and asks Subaru why she's taking a shower. So Subaru explains that his sister suggested she take one after she got soaked by rain while waiting in front of their house. Confused, Kinjiro asks her what she's doing in his house, so Subaru tells him it's an instruction from Lady Kanade to ensure he's keeping the secret safe. Immediately, Subaru brings up the issue of him seeing her naked body and reminds him she has a memory erasing technique that has been passed down in her family. Kinjiro starts to shiver, but Subaru lands a clean punch in his face and knocks him down. Some time later, Subaru leaves the mansion and the cook named Kosemi comes behind to hug her and feels her front package. Subaru grabs her from behind and throws her across the yard. Shortly after, Kosemi returns with a bump on her head and comes to hug Subaru. Later, Kosame serves Kanade her breakfast. After Kanade thanks her, Kosame screams out and asks Kanade why Subaru has been leaving home before her lately. However, another worker named Ichigo tells Kosame to calm down because she's always going into a rage when Subaru is involved. Kosame admits that she loves women with tiny melons who look like little sisters. Meanwhile, a random girl follows Kinjiro and Subaru as they head to school. Saturday. When they get to school, Yamato asks Kinjiro why he and Subaru have been coming to school together, but Kinjiro just tells him that they met on the way. Meanwhile, he thinks about everything that has happened so far and how he's now under surveillance not to expose Subaru's secret. Eventually, Yamato asks Kinjiro if he's in a special relationship with Subaru, but Kinjiro tells him to piss off. Later, Yamato informs him that a group called S4 is starting to make its move. The S4 is short for Shooting Star Subaru-sama, and they're the most powerful group in their Roran Academy, the Subaru's underground fan club. Yamato cautions that a Subaru fanatic may grow jealous of how close they've gotten and send an assassin after him. Kinjiro thinks that's ridiculous. Later that day, Kinjiro gets some food from the cafeteria while someone watches him through the vents in the ceiling. After he passes by, the girl who's wearing an S4 mask runs after him and attempts to smash his head in with a fire extinguisher. Before she can hit him, some other lady throws something at her and knocks her to the ground. Kinjiro is surprised, but his savior, who introduces herself as a member of the Subaru-sama Warm Catch group, assures him that they will fend off his assailants. These crazy girls even have logos. I wonder who took out the time to design them. Confused, Kinjiro asks why there's such a group, so the girl explains that their group split from S4 and is acting independently. Because of their differing views, they've been fighting behind the scenes for a while. Suddenly, two girls from the Subaru-sama Warm Catch group drag away the girl who had been knocked unconscious. Eventually, the girl asks Kinjiro who's the dominant one and the submissive one in his relationship with Subaru. Immediately, Kinjiro realizes she's into boy love kinks. Later, he runs into Kanade, who points out that his life must be really troublesome. He accuses her of being at fault, so she apologizes and gives him a Butler ticket. When he asks what it is, she explains that he can use it to command Subaru to perform a single task. For example, she says he can have her take her top off and rub honey all over her and have her do dark things with him. Shocked, Kinjiro insists that he's not into things like that, so Kanade leaves him be while laughing. When Kinjiro gets to class, he realizes he's lost his appetite. However, he notices Subaru blankly looking out the window. Later, Kanade sends the both of them to an aquarium and claims that she thought it would be a good place for their first date. Kinjiro wonders what on earth she's talking about, so Kanade explains that to cure his gynophobia, she thought it would be good for Subaru to dress as a normal girl. When Kinjiro asks her who she is, she says she's reading manga in a nearby cafe. She asks him to pass the phone to Subaru and tells Subaru that it's time to get started. She immediately tells Subaru to get undressed, and Subaru starts to get undressed in public. Kinjiro almost loses his mind and tries to stop her, so Kanade points out that she didn't say to undress right there. Eventually, the Subaru inside changed. Shortly after, she comes out in a schoolgirl dress and she looks quite embarrassed. For a moment, Kinjiro just watches in surprise, so she tells him not to look at her like that. He immediately immediately turns around in embarrassment but turns back and beholds her exquisite form. When he notices her jugs, he points out that it seems her package has gotten bigger, so she explains that she usually wraps them tight to conceal them. She adds that Lady Kinade also gave her a padded bra, so Kinjiro mentions that it makes sense since it doesn't seem so big before. When his mind flashes back to the time he fondled her jugs, his nose almost starts to bleed, so Subaru demands to know what he's thinking about. He apologizes, so Subaru storms into the arcade so they can go. When they enter, they play a game where they try to pick up plushie toys. Subaru thinks they're pretty cute, so Kinjiro asks if he should get one for her, and she agrees. He soon obtains a white toy and she hugs it deeply. Later, Kinjiro brings Subaru a Coke while she looks at some pictures they took. Suddenly, she apologizes because she was here to treat his condition but had simply enjoyed herself the whole time. Kinjiro tells her he doesn't mind, so she asks him why he has gynophobia. He asks her if she knows someone named Sakamachi Akemi, and Subaru remembers a pro wrestler by that name whom they refer to as the Queen of Fresh Blood. Kinjiro explains that she's his mother. She was not just his mother, but his little sister also loves martial arts, and he's been their human punch bag since he was a child. It went on day after day for more than 10 years, and that's the reason. Subaru asks where the nosebleeds come from, so Kinjiro admits it might just be reflex. Apparently, they would stop pummeling him whenever he got nosebleeds. Subaru believes that's the kindness of a family, but Kinjiro ruins the emotional moment by stating that they would actually stop pounding him so the blood doesn't get the room dirty. Eventually, Subaru assures him he'll get cured, and Kinjiro admits he wants to get free of this so he can be able to exchange touches with a girl. Suddenly, they get a call from Kanade, who asks if this is enough of a warm-up. When Subaru admits it is, Kanade tells Subaru to start the next phase of the mission. She tells Kinjiro it's time to get started, and the first program is started. Immediately, Subaru steps closer to Kinjiro and breathes into his ears. Meanwhile, someone watches them from a nearby bush. Next up, Kanade signals for the next program, so Subaru takes off the robe around her. After that, Kanade calls for program 3, and Subaru takes a hold of Kinjiro's hand. The whole time, Kinjiro squirms like he tasted bad food and tries to cover up his nose. Eventually, while Subaru is about to move Kinjiro's hand to her chest, Kanade stops her and asks her to pass the phone to Kinjiro. When she does, Kanade asks him if his nose is bleeding yet, and he tells her it's not yet. Since that's the case, she tells him he can use the Butler tickets as a reward. When Kinjiro brings out the ticket, Subaru is shocked and asks why he has that. He admits that Kanade gave it to him, so Subaru reluctantly receives the ticket from him. She suddenly turns into a very obedient being and asks him if there's anything he wants her to do, calling him master. This shocks him, and Subaru admits that she hates using that form of address for anyone but Lady Kanade, but a Butler ticket is just like one of the lady's orders. Kinjiro realizes the Butler ticket is absolute, so Subaru tells him to ask her to do whatever he wants. He immediately remembers all the things that Kanade listed out for him, and he almost vomits and tells himself that he's not that kind of pervert. Eventually, he asks her to bleat like the goat toy they got, and she does so. Kinjiro immediately realizes this is a mistake because he wanted to make his order simple, but he ended up doing something vile to her. However, Subaru points out that it's not vile since he's her master. Her eyes suddenly turn fiery, and she notices him trembling. She approaches him and asks to warm him if he's cold, but Kinjiro runs away because of the crazy look in her eyes. Before Subaru can touch him, some random girl flies into the scene and kicks Kinjiro in the face. After knocking him to the ground, Kinjiro realizes the person is Koreah, his sister, so he asks her what she's doing here. She tells him that's her line and points out that she heard rumors that he was going out with a guy, so she follows him around all day. Koreah says she can't believe that Subaru had such a secret. She admits she can't believe her senpai is a perv who likes to cross-dress. Subaru and Kinjiro respond in confusion, but Koreah explains that she saw Kinjiro give Subaru a stuffed animal, but she still believes Subaru is a guy who's just cross-dressing. She also says it was weird when she noticed them pressing bodies together and accuses them of trying to kiss. She mentions that she thought it weird that Subaru was coming over to their house to pick her brother up, and she accuses Subaru of deceiving her brother. For a moment, the two of them don't know what to say, so Koreah calls Subaru a thief and demands that he give her back her brother. Suddenly, Koreah tries to kick Subaru with one of her martial arts kicks, but she gets kicked to the ground. Annoyed, Koreah accuses Subaru of breaking the rules and runs away crying. Immediately, Kanade comes out and mentions that this was quite an interesting scene. Eventually, Subaru apologizes because she didn't mean to kick Koreah so hard, but Kinjiro tells her it's fine, because she wouldn't have stopped if Subaru didn't go that far. He soon hands Subaru the toy and says he'll see her at school tomorrow. When Kinjiro gets home, he calls out to Koreah but doesn't get a response. When he enters the living room, he sees a teddy bear pinned to the wall with a knife with foam coming out of it. He finds the sight of this toy, which they had nicknamed Kumagoro, repulsive and quickly unpins it. Kumagoro has always been a punch bag for Koreah when he's not around, and he realizes she must have taken out her anger on it. Later, he sews up the teddy bear. The next morning, Subaru comes to ring the bell and tries to explain what happened yesterday to Koreah, but she just slams the door in her face. Koreah runs inside, but Kinjiro heads to school with Subaru. On their way, Subaru points out that Kinjiro hasn't cleared up the misunderstanding of what happened yesterday with his sister. When they get to school, a teacher tells the students to change into gym clothes so they can take their measurements. The teacher tells the boys to go to the infirmary and Kinjiro is shocked. While they're walking, Kinjiro asks Subaru what she plans to do since she'll have to take everything off to be measured. Subaru explains that she has no choice but to do it because Kanade had spoken to her about it. Apparently, Kanade reminds Subaru that she had to call in sick to avoid last year's measurement, but she tells Subaru that she can. Kinjiro would have to figure it out this time. When Subaru enters the toilet, Kinjiro waits for her outside until she changes. When she steps out, she assures him it'll be fine and they'll get over it somehow. When they get to the infirmary, Kinjiro reminds Subaru that she'll be unable to show her chest like the other boys are doing. Subaru assures him she's bound it up, but Kinjiro reminds her that boys don't usually cover up their chest. She assures him that she'll make something up. When it's Subaru's turn, Kinjiro is scared beyond his wits. When Subaru pulls off her shirt, the nurse angrily tells her to remove the covering because she can't measure properly with it on. The nurse pulls off the covering tape and Subaru's jugs are unveiled in front of the boys. It turns out to be Kinjiro's imagination, so he runs in front of Subaru and tells the nurse that Subaru is extremely shy and asks to be the one to measure her chest. Everyone in the hall is confused, but the nurse eventually allows him. Kinjiro eventually measures her chest with his tape and blood suddenly spurts out of his nose when he does. He manages to measure it and he tells the nurse the measurement. Later, Subaru asks him if he's okay, so he tells her he is. Immediately, Kinjiro realizes he's also in trouble because he doesn't like being touched by women and the previous nurse was a man. Immediately, Subaru offers to measure his chest and everyone watches in surprise. Next up, they do a hearing and vision test, but Kinjiro still worries because the doctors after this will still ask to see their chest so he can measure their heartbeat. He imagines Subaru showing her chest to the doctor and the doctor pulling off the tape in a dramatic way to unveil her package. When Subaru is called in, she enters the office and the doctor asks her to show him her chest. Immediately, Kinjiro enters and tells the doctor he'll use the stethoscope on Subaru. For a moment, they're all speechless. Later, Kinjiro decides to hug Subaru to help her, but he passes out because of how soft she is. When he wakes up, he finds Subaru by his side and learns that they were released from the physical examination because of him. Subaru considers it a pity that they couldn't continue till the end and mentions that Lady Kanade was very satisfied when she heard that they measured each other's chest. Kinjiro starts to cry and hopes it doesn't turn into another rumor. When it's lunch break, Subaru asks him if he'd like to have lunch together. When he looks confused, she points out that it's not like she has a particular reason for having lunch with him, but she tells him she wants to pay so she's not indebted to him. When they enter the cafeteria, Subaru picks out some food while some Subaru fanatics from the S4 watch Kinjiro and pledge to eliminate him for putting his hands on Subaru. They surround the cafeteria, so Kinjiro asks Subaru to hurry up. While they eat on the roof, Kinjiro asks where Kanade is, so Subaru asks him if he always has someone to eat with. He's initially surprised but later mentions that he usually eats with Yamato since they've always been together since junior high. Subaru admits that she never went to junior high school and doesn't know how it feels. Apparently, she and Kanade only started in high school, and they were just students in name up till that time and studied under private teachers. She explains that this is why she's never eaten lunch with anyone before, and not with friends like he does. Suddenly, Kinjiro remembers her staring into the window, so he tells her they need to decide what to call each other. She tells her she doesn't have to call him by his full name and refers to him as Jiro. Surprised, Subaru asks him if it's okay for them to be so friendly, and when he insists, she agrees. She struggles to say it at first and blushes, which makes Kinjiro blush as well. When he sits down and looks away, she lies on him and dozes off. Suddenly, Kanade shows up and asks Kinjiro if he didn't get a nosebleed. She asks if he thinks the mission has helped a bit, then mentions that it's amazing to think that Subaru would sleep next to a person. Kanade figures that her anxiousness must have already gone, and Kinjiro wonders what she means. Kanade explains that keeping her identity hidden at school has always been tough on her, so she doesn't let people near her. Kanade notes that she seems to have finally found someone who she can call her friend. Kanade points out that she's Subaru's master, and because of that, she can't truly be her friend. Later that evening, Kinjiro gets home and Koreah welcomes him home at the front door. Eventually, she asks if he's going out with Subaru, and he denies it and states that they're just friends. Because of that, Koreah confesses that she thinks she might be in love with Subaru. Apparently, this is the first time she's ever felt like this, and she asks him what she should do. Shocked, Kinjiro tells her she can't be together with Subaru, but Koreah points out that Subaru is different, strong, and cool. She insists she fell in love with him, and Kinjiro screams in horror. When Koreah runs around in excitement, Kinjiro collapses on the stairs and realizes this is really bad. On a beautiful morning, Kinjiro wakes up and finds Subaru in his house. It amazes him, and she advises him to always lock his front door properly because it is unsafe not to. During their conversation, Koreah appears almost naked and informs Kinjiro that there is no more shampoo. She is shocked to see Subaru in the house with him, talking casually. Later at school, Kanade and Kinjiro are talking when Kanade mocks Koreah and Subaru, asking if they would make a good pair since their love is forbidden. forbidden. Kinjiro tells Kanade that after what happened, Koreah shut herself in her room and might not come to school today. Kanade assures him that it is not a problem, that Koreah is over there. That surprises Kinjiro when he sees her in school, and Koreah suddenly asks him if Subaru saw her underwear, but Kinjiro replies that she didn't show any reaction. While talking, Koreah wonders why Subaru and Kinjiro always walk together and thinks it is boys' love. But Kinjiro wonders why she would think of that. Kanade adds that Subaru is in love with Kinjiro and tells her not to worry because she and Kinjiro are dating. Kanade adds that she saw a birthmark on him while they both laid down, but Koreah doesn't believe that because he has nosebleeds anytime a girl touches him. Eventually, Kanade offers to help Koreah with her feelings for Subaru, but she tells Koreah she may become her little sister and hopes they get along. That surprises Koreah, but Kanade also offers to help Subaru have a proper relationship with a lady. For that, she decides to let them have a double date on Sunday. Sometime later, Kinjiro and Koreah are seen walking, and Kinjiro sights Subaru from behind, so he calls her. Subaru points a gun at him and warns him not to approach her carelessly. However, Subaru adds that the gun is to protect Kanade and herself when he asks the reason for it. In the restroom, males and females separate to change. Afterward, in the male locker room, some guys are passing by only in underwear, but it affects Subaru, so Kinjiro helps her out to change her clothes while staying outside to watch. However, he senses trouble ahead. Later, at the swimming pool arena, Kinjiro and Subaru are strolling when Kanade and Koreah appear only in underwear. That shocks Kinjiro. Koreah asks Subaru to teach her how to swim, and she agrees, but Kinjiro knows she is lying. Kanade tells Subaru to go ahead, but Subaru worries that Kanade will be left unprotected. Because of that, Kanade asks Kinjiro to protect her, and Subaru counts on him. While Kinjiro and Kanade are left alone, he asks, "What's wrong with Subaru today?" She replies that they were once kidnapped in the same location together as a child, which shocks Kinjiro. Koreah continues, explaining that they were kidnapped for ransom and the criminals were later arrested. Since then, her outings have been restricted, but Subaru accepted the blame for failing to protect her master as a butler. She adds that ever since that incident, they have both grown in different ways. Kanade adds that just as gynophobia is his weakness, Subaru also has her own weaknesses. That amazes Kinjiro as their conversation ends. Kanade then remembers that they're supposed to act like lovers and moves closer to him, placing his hand on her chest, which causes him to have a nosebleed. They start playing around the swimming pool, and his nose bleeds every time she gets close to him. Later at the pool area, they gather together, and Kanade asks Koreah how it went. Koreah replies that she has been using her charm on Subaru. While they are talking, Koreah suddenly feels thirsty. Kanade tells her butler to get some drinks for her and asks Kinjiro to go along. The butler, concerned for her safety, hesitates, but Kanade replies that she's not a kid anymore. On their way, Subaru is surprised that Kinjiro and Kanade are getting along so well, but Kinjiro replies that he guessed it would happen. Then Subaru tells Kinjiro that she recently had a fight with her father. When Kinjiro asks why, she explains that she mentioned being alone with Kinjiro in the science room, and her father said she should have just threatened and hung Kinjiro for that. While still walking, Subaru sees a child struggling in the water. Kinjiro notices and jumps in to rescue the child while telling Subaru to get a lifeguard. When he rescues her from the water, he carries her and notices his nosebleed again, realizing it is a girl. The girl's mother hears her cry, carries her, and thanks him for rescuing her. In the pool, Kinjiro faints and recalls a memory of his father telling him, "Stand by me." At the time, he didn't understand the meaning of those words because they were too advanced for his age. In the flashback, Kinjiro's father tells him to be a man who stands by someone special to him without hesitation. His father encourages him to be strong and protective. In memory of his father, Kinjiro wonders if he is living up to the promise he made to him. He wakes up and tells Subaru that he had a beautiful visit to heaven. Subaru begs him not to joke, saying she was worried, and asks if he is fine now because they have been there for a while and should go meet Kanade. He agrees. Afterward, as Subaru and Kinjiro are about to leave, a child brings a cell phone to Subaru. The phone rings, and when she answers, a strange voice informs her that Kanade and Kinjiro's younger sister have been kidnapped. The caller sends a picture of them, shocking both Subaru and Kinjiro. The stranger demands that they arrive within the next 10 minutes and warns that if they contact the police, it's game over. Subaru responds that she will come alone, but Kinjiro is worried about her going there alone. The stranger then mocks them over the phone and threatens Subaru with a knife. After ending the call, Subaru starts fidgeting, and Kinjiro notices that seeing a knife is her weakness. He asks her to confirm, and Subaru replies that anytime she sees or touches a knife, she loses all her strength. Subaru feels strange for being unable to protect Kanade as her butler, but still wishes to be her butler. As Subaru walks to rescue Kanade and Kinjiro's younger sister, she looks weak, as if her intestines have been removed. Kinjiro suddenly punches her in the stomach, causing her to collapse. As he apologizes, he decides to go there alone. Kinjiro enters the room and the stranger welcomes him. He looks around for Kanade and his younger sister, but the stranger tells him that they are behind the door. He walks in like a lion but fights like a butterfly. During the fight, Subaru wakes up, realizes Kinjiro has gone to fight, and gathers strength to rescue them. While fighting, as the stranger draws a knife on Kinjiro, Subaru enters and rescues him first, first, asking Kinjiro to leave the rest to her. That amazes the stranger because Subaru holds the knife without fear and reminds him how she used to cry when threatened with a knife. Kinjiro wonders if the stranger is the same criminal who kidnapped Kanade and Subaru back then. Confidently, Subaru summons courage as a butler, no longer scared of knives. She fights him and defeats him. That amazes Kinjiro as Subaru knocks him down. Kinjiro and Subaru quickly enter the room where Kanade and Kinjiro's younger sister are being held. Subaru quickly apologizes for being careless and failing as a butler, asking Kanade if she can still remain her butler. Kanade replies that she can remain her butler and friend for the rest of their lives. In the room, Kinjiro is happy that everything turned out well. The stranger enters the room, unveils his mask, and Subaru realizes he is her father. They hug each other in amazement. Kanade announces he is Subaru's father and Kinjiro collapses. However, Kinjiro wakes up as Subaru's father stands watching him. He says the injury shouldn't be a problem since he didn't hit him hard, but Kinjiro disagrees, saying he hit him hard and asks about Koreah. Subaru's father replies that he didn't plan to hurt her. He frankly tells Kinjiro that he doesn't like him, and Kinjiro replies that he doesn't like him either because he is an obsessed parent. While conversing, Kanade enters and asks Subaru's father to leave. She tells Kinjiro that he and Subaru's father are alike and explains that they both cherish their families, though Subaru's father is overprotective. Kanade continues, explaining that Subaru's father is the only family Subaru has, so Kinjiro can't really blame him. This amazes Kinjiro. She adds that Subaru's mother passed away when she was 5 years old. Everyone wanted his father to remarry, but Subaru refused because she didn't want another mother. Kinjiro then asks if that's the reason she chose to become her butler, but Kanade apologizes for involving him, saying that because of their similar phobias, she thought things would improve if they made contact. While they're talking, Kinjiro asks if the kidnapping was also part of her plan. Kanade admits that it was and thanks him, saying that because of his actions, she was able to keep Subaru as her butler. Kinjiro realizes that Kanade shouldn't call Subaru's father overprotective. She agrees, admitting that she did it because she loves Subaru and that Subaru is her first love, which surprises Kinjiro. As she turns back, she compliments Kinjiro for being Subaru's friend while Subaru stands at the entrance, overhearing their conversation. Then Subaru comes closer to Kinjiro and reminds him that after hitting her, he promised to listen to her. She hugs him and admits that she was scared, but Kinjiro tells her she did well by protecting Kanade and assures her that she's far from being a failure. Subaru continues, saying she was terrified that he might have been stabbed by that knife and die. Kinjiro hugs her back and realizes that he shouldn't have done what he did. While hugging her, Kinjiro remembers what his father said about being strong, and he promises to be one. After a while, they both notice his nose bleed. Meanwhile, Kanade had told Koreah that Subaru is with Kinjiro. Suddenly, Koreah rushes in because she's worried that Subaru would have forced himself on him. Kinjiro gets angry because of what Kanade told Koreah, as he realizes that Kanade is something else, remembering everything she has said so far. Subaru warns Kinjiro not to lay his hand on Kanade, or else he will die. Kinjiro jumps through the window and sees Kanade. He accuses her of trapping him again, but Kanade asks if that's any way to talk to someone. He grabs her and takes her as his hostage. She teases him, wondering if his gynophobia is gone since he's holding her, but he explains that he can manage because she's wearing long-sleeve clothes. When the others spot him, they run after him, and Kinjiro accuses Kanade of telling many random lies. She insists she only tells the truth and says it's true that Subaru was her first love. Kinjiro realizes that girls are really scary. Sometime later, Kinjiro is excited when Golden Week comes. He's been excitedly waiting to eat this man's soy sauce that Koreah doesn't like because it's instant food. Suddenly, he hears the doorbell ring and goes to check. It turns out to be Subaru, who has some animal ears. She reluctantly calls him master and offers to serve him if he allows her to stay here. It's clear that Kanade put her up to this. Kinjiro calls Kanade to confirm and finds out it was part of her plan. He warns her not to toy with him and asks if she is planning something this morning. Kanade tells him that she was kicked out yesterday and he intends to know why. Kanade adds that he shouldn't worry and laughs about it. Suddenly, Subaru's stomach rumbles and she denies. Kanade says that Subaru dropped her wallet while she was being kicked out yesterday. Kinjiro cuts the call and he allows her to enter. Later, Koreah is looking for everyone in the forest and finds out that she got separated. Meanwhile, Subaru finishes her meal and decides she doesn't want to eat his food for free. She declares that as long as she stays in the house, she will serve as his butler. She also intends to introduce herself to Kinjiro's parents, but Kinjiro declines, explaining that his mother is overseas. While they're talking, Kinjiro tells Subaru that Koreah is away at a training camp for her club and will be gone for a few days. This surprises Subaru, and she becomes worried that she and Kinjiro will be alone until Koreah returns. Kinjiro suggests they drop the topic for now since he wants to sleep, but Subaru misunderstands and thinks it's a perverted request. Kinjiro quickly assures her that he just wants to rest and tells her she can relax anywhere she likes. Subaru is surprised that he plans to sleep again at 9:00 a.m., but Kinjiro adds that it's normal since everyone sleeps in during holidays. As their conversation continues, Subaru resolves to change that lazy attitude in him as a proper butler Butler should. Meanwhile, Koreah is alone in the forest when she spots a bear and gets excited, thinking it would be fun to play with it. She cheerfully says that coming to the training camp was worth it and runs toward the bear, ready to fight. Elsewhere, Subaru knocks Kinjiro down during training and decides to take a break. She comments that it's unusual for an ordinary house to have a dojo. Kinjiro explains that it was made to make things more convenient for his mother's job. Anyway, Subaru notices that a lot of clothes have piled up, and Kinjiro replies that he will take care of them after bathing, but she declines, saying she will do the job as his butler, and asks him to rest a bit. Subaru goes to the laundry and smells Kinjiro's clothes. Suddenly, Kinjiro opens the door, shocking her, and something falls on him as he continues talking. She hurriedly tries to explain her action, saying she just wanted to know how a guy smells. Kinjiro tells her to forget the laundry and asks if he can go to the bathroom first, and she agrees. Later, Kinjiro enters the bathroom and feels revived. Subaru asks how the water temperature is, and he replies that it's normal while he relaxes and enjoys it. Then Subaru informs him that she's coming to wash his back like a proper butler would, which shocks him. She tells him not to look at her and begins washing his back. As she does, the soap slips from her hand, and her body accidentally presses tightly against his, causing his nose to bleed. While Subaru and Kinjiro are still in the bathroom together, Koreah suddenly announces that she's back, surprising them since they weren't expecting her until the next day. Koreah finds out that Kinjiro is in the bathroom and explains how she broke her arm after running into a bear in the mountains. She adds that the doctor said her injury will heal in a few weeks. Seeing that she's had a rough time, Kinjiro advises her not to push herself too hard and to make sure she gets enough rest. Meanwhile, Koreah notices that Kinjiro is acting unusually kind, and he replies that he's just concerned about her health. Anyway, Koreah wonders why Kinjiro is in the bathroom so early. He replies that there's no particular reason, just that he wanted to wash off his sweat. Then she spots a girl's underwear outside, which shocks both Kinjiro and Subaru. Still in the bathroom, Kinjiro quickly locks the door, which bothers Koreah. He asks Subaru to hide in the bathtub. Koreah wonders who Kinjiro is hiding in the bathroom. With great force, she breaks the bathroom door and finds Subaru in the bathtub, but with amazement, she slumps. Kinjiro tells Subaru that seeing her shocked Koreah, and he suddenly feels cold. Later in the day, Koreah feels embarrassed for having passed out in the bathroom, but when she hears that Subaru will be helping around the house, she's delighted, believing that Subaru will definitely be her prince. Shortly after, Kinjiro asks about her beautiful outfit, but Koreah replies that those are just her normal clothes and happily asks Subaru to stay with them forever. Kinjiro, however, knows that Koreah hates instant noodles, though she pretends to like them in Subaru's presence. Annoyed, she grabs Kinjiro's chest so tightly that it hurts him. As they talk, Subaru tells Kinjiro and Koreah that this is her first time eating instant noodles and remarks that they're delicious. She then notices that Kinjiro's face has turned pale because Koreah is still pressing his chest hard. When Koreah finally lets go, Kinjiro collapses and faints. Shortly after, Kinjiro wakes up and tells Subaru that he's fine but feeling cold, and Koreah scares him with hot water. While they're talking, Maid suddenly appears with her traveling bag, smiling happily that she made it. She says it would be odd for her to be left out while everyone else is having fun. Her arrival surprises Kinjiro. Maid quickly adds that she didn't come as a freeloader but as his maid, just for today. Annoyed, Kinjiro grabs her traveling bag and tells her to go back home, but Maid insists on staying. She points out that he accepted Subaru so easily, which makes him pause in surprise. Kinjiro convinces Kanade that Subaru's family has a butler name and that he doesn't need a maid. Kanade suggests they can have a deal, who can satisfy Kinjiro and his sister between the butler and the maid. That pisses Kinjiro off. They start the deal using Koreah's back and begin massaging her, but the maid wins the first round. Kanade is satisfied because her shoulder massage pleases Koreah well and hopes to win the next round. The next round, the butler and maid use Kinjiro this time and start putting food in his mouth. When it's Subaru's turn, Kanade tells Kinjiro that it will be mouth to mouth, which scares him even more. During Subaru's turn, Kinjiro collapses. As Kinjiro collapses, it shocks Subaru, Kanade, and Koreah. They quickly carry him to bed, but Koreah is most scared that he might die. The next morning, they check Kinjiro's temperature and find out it's cold. Moments later, Kinjiro opens his eyes, which makes Koreah more worried. He apologizes, and Kanade suggests that Subaru can take it from there. As they leave the room, Koreah cries the most, and Kanade tells Kinjiro not to die. Subaru enters with prepared food for Kinjiro. Kinjiro tells her that he has gotten better already, and it's just a small cold, nothing to worry about. Subaru replies that even if it's a cold, it doesn't mean he should take it lightly. Kinjiro agrees, and Subaru offers him some food she made, which is appropriate for a sick person. Subaru gives Kinjiro a hot full spoon, and he starts sweating. Subaru holds Kinjiro's hands with chains and begins sweating heavily as she wipes his sweat with warm towels. She offers him various remedies, including one that her father passed down from generation to generation, and Kinjiro's body reacts strongly to each of them. However, Kanade stays by Kinjiro's side, and he wakes up and confirms what she told him, that Subaru can nurse curse people so hard but loses her way a bit. Kinjiro is confused about the statement but wonders if he can survive the cold then. Maid tells him that she can help if he cooperates with her. That word cooperate confuses Kinjiro again, but Maid asks if he knows the reason she's here. Kinjiro replies that it's just to come, play, and live happily, but he realizes and asks if she came to take Subaru back, and Maid agrees. Later in the day, Maid and Kinjiro are outside. Kinjiro asks why they're out there and presses if it's part of her plan, but she replies that it's also because of him, so she urges him to cooperate. Maid then goes to ask if Subaru's father is there with them. Subaru's father enters and notices Kinjiro. Subaru's father, whose name is Nagare, blames Kinjiro for Subaru's misbehavior, saying she no longer calls him Papa and has been acting differently. However, Kinjiro tells him that something is wrong with his psyche but suddenly feels dizzy. Maid explains that Kinjiro is half right because, since that incident where Nagare beat Kinjiro to a pulp, Subaru and her father have been at war. Maid continues that because of that too, her father got annoyed and punished them not to return until they settled it. Kinjiro now fully understands. With that, Maid asks Kinjiro to forgive Nagare, Subaru's father, so that Subaru's anger will reduce. However, Nagare wishes to make up but not with Kinjiro, calling him a small, damn kid. Suddenly, Subaru appears out of nowhere and tells her father to stay away from Kinjiro before kicking him. Subaru then asks Kinjiro to go home together because his fever will worsen, but Kinjiro declines. She wonders why he sneaks out on his own despite being sick. As they are running, Nagare shouts Subaru's name, but she replies that she hates her father, which makes Nagare fall again as if kicked, amazing Kinjiro. As Subaru drags Kinjiro home, he tells her that her behavior isn't right and that she should forgive her father, saying he can handle the beating and that her father has only been worried about her. Subaru declines, saying she is now his butler and will help him heal from his sickness. She cannot go back to the mansion until then. Subaru apologizes if the way she tried to care for him seemed poor, saying it was because she was worried. She continues that when Kinjiro collapsed and she saw his sister in tears, fearing he might die, she decided to help him recover, and she didn't want him to die just like her mother did. She asks Kinjiro to stay by her side, otherwise, she'll worry even more. But Kinjiro collapses once again. Maid asks Subaru to take Kinjiro to the hospital, but he opens his eyes and remembers that he swore not to make Subaru cry again. Maid apologizes for making Kinjiro come outside. Confidently, Kinjiro asks Maid to step aside and assures himself that he will not allow some sickness to hold him down. As Kinjiro walks up to Subaru, he asks her to stop worrying and promises that he cannot die so easily. Subaru agrees to follow her father. The next day, Subaru and Kinjiro meet, and she tells him that he's a helpless idiot. Kinjiro asks if she doesn't have any kind words for a recuperating man, and Subaru blames him for accepting her nursing. Still, she's happy that he promised her he wouldn't die and adds that he is a precious friend to her. She warns that if he breaks his promise and dies, she will cry again. Then Subaru tells Kinjiro that she needs to go on an errand because her father has also returned home with a cold. Subaru thanks Kinjiro as she runs inside for her errand. Suddenly, Kanade appears out of nowhere and tells him it's rare for her to say that. Kinjiro is shocked to see her. As Maid walks ahead of Kinjiro, she comments that back then, he always persuaded Subaru and that he stopped being such a chicken, at least a little. Kinjiro asks why she's teasing him and wonders why Maid would take his word seriously when he tells her to move. Kanade gladly turns back, feeling special because it's the first time a man has ever said such a thing to her. She kisses Kinjiro, causing his nose to bleed, but decides that their accomplice bond will last for a long time since he's still a chicken, which freaks Kinjiro out. Maid reassures him, saying it was just a kiss. Anyhow, Maid adds that the kiss was her first kiss, which shocks Kinjiro since she once said Subaru is her first love. Maid continues, explaining that Subaru is her first love, but that doesn't necessarily mean she still feels the same way towards her. At school, everyone is enjoying themselves, eating and talking to each other. A girl stands on the roof and sights someone. Later in the day, Kinjiro is walking on the road when the same girl hits him while riding a bike. Despite the great impact, he doesn't die but realizes he has lost his glasses. Then, he sees the girl who hit him lying on the floor and thinks she might have died. Soon after, he finds out that the girl is wearing their school uniform. He goes to check if she is still breathing and discovers she's alive. Suddenly, the girl stands up, which amazes Kinjiro. She worries about calling the police because she has hit a person but considers covering it up instead. Kinjiro tells her not to worry, that he is fine, which scares her even more, seeing him alive. He continues saying his family situation has made him tougher. Kinjiro notices that the girl is wearing the same school uniform he attends and tries to ask for her name, but the girl asks why. He replies that since they just had an accident, at least he should know her name. He presses further to know her class and she answers vaguely, but when he's about to ask again, he notices his glasses are on the girl's lap. He can't take them because of her laps. The girl covers her lap with something, thinking he is staring at her laps. Kinjiro explains that he just wants to take something from there and asks if she can help him pick it up. The girl misunderstands, and as he tries to grab the glasses himself, she closes her lap tightly. When he moves closer to pick the glasses himself, myself?" She kicks him back. The girl stands up and calls Kinjiro a pervert, kicking him again, but eventually finds his glasses and realizes what he was actually trying to take from her lap. Later, the girl recognizes Kinjiro as Korea's elder brother and kicks him even more. He wonders how she knows Koreah. The girl also realizes that Kinjiro is Subaru's friend. She finally tells him her name, Usami, and she jumps on him, pressing him with her shoe, saying she's part of the arts and crafts club before Kinjiro collapses on the road. After that, Kinjiro wakes up in the school hospital, shocked to see the mark of the girl's shoe still on him. Subaru sits beside him and asks if he's fine. She explains how she found him unconscious by the roadside and brought him to school. She wonders if he was hit by a car, and he replies that it looks like that. Subaru tells Kinjiro that he was sleep-talking and repeats everything he said. He agrees that it's a reflection of what he experienced. She asks if he's suffering from a mental illness, but he says he's not. When he asks about Kanade, Subaru answers that she's in class. Subaru then asks Kinjiro if he's been avoiding Kanade because it's near the end of Golden Week. He remembers the kiss between him and Kanade. Subaru notices he has something to say and tells him she is available if he needs someone to talk to since they're friends. But she adds one condition, that he will spend the day of the school festival with her. That surprises Kinjiro, and she continues that Kanade will be busy with her class chairman duties, so she won't be around. As Kinjiro agrees, he calls Subaru an idiot. Firstly, Kinjiro tells Subaru about his first kiss, which shocks her. She asks if it was with Kanade and continues that it was sudden and surprised him too, but she notices that Kanade has said that to her as well. Kinjiro continues that he wishes to do it over again, which shocks Subaru even more. Subaru gets nervous even though they're alone, but Kinjiro adds that he isn't convinced yet to do it. She agrees to do it but realizes he's not someone who can tease others easily. As Subaru moves closer to kiss Kinjiro, Kanade suddenly enters, shocking both of them. Kanade warns Subaru to be careful, saying that no matter what she does, as long as she's still in school, she must act like a boy. Subaru apologizes. Kanade greets Kinjiro, saying it's been a while since they talked. Kinjiro tries to escape, saying he'd rather be in class, but Kanade doesn't let him leave. When she climbs on him, Kinjiro reminds her that he still has gonophobia, and she replies that's why she's getting him special treatment. As she moves closer, his nose starts to bleed, as if she came all the way just for that. Kanade replies that she didn't, that she came to tell him the school festival activity has been decided. She continues that everyone wants to see Subaru cross-dressing and she will allow her to wear a cute dress. As Kanade is about to leave, Kinjiro reminds her that she forgot her letter and she turns back to pick it up. He's surprised that people are still writing love letters. She asks if she should accept the confession, but Kinjiro asks what is wrong with going out with the person. She then asks Subaru what she would do if someone with the letter kissed her without permission. Subaru replies that she would eliminate the person and never allow that. Kanade thanks Subaru for that great reply and tells them she'll return to class after declining the confession. She wishes them a great day as she walks off, leaving Kinjiro confused. Later, Kinjiro runs off, blaming Usami for what happened to him. But Usami interferes and asks who he's calling evil. She says they need to have an important conversation. When Kinjiro and Usami are together, she asks him to go out with her and be her lover until the end of the festival, saying he has no right to refuse. Kinjiro turns back and tells Usami he's annoyed because she called him out for a joke. She explains that the place is her favorite spot to talk about important matters and that she loves to be alone there. She adds that this is where she first saw Subaru. It was love at first sight. While talking, Usami asks Kinjiro if he knows about S4 and tells him it's the largest Subaru fan club. She continues, explaining that she's one of the officers of shooting star Subaru-sama and that's why she knows so much. She tells him that after the upcoming school festival, S4 will be hosting a secret event. When he asks what that means, she explains that it's a war between S4 and the Subaru-sama Warm Watch group. When Kinjiro asks what that has to do with him, she replies that as long as he's seen going out with Subaru and being close to another girl, it will shake up the boys' love Warm Watch group. Kinjiro still doesn't understand why he has to cooperate, but Usami says she isn't asking him to do it for free. She'll negotiate his safety if her group wins. Usami wonders why Kinjiro still refuses, asking if she isn't cute enough, but he replies that it will only cause him trouble. When Usami calls Kinjiro by his full name, it makes him angry, and she tells him to live up to his name. In fact, S4 and the Warm Watch group have been at odds ever since he started going out with Subaru. Kinjiro casually tells Usami that she could do all that with ordinary friends, but she kicks him and explains that Subaru isn't just an ordinary person, she just lets her guard down when he's around her. She kicks him again repeatedly. Usami then reveals she has evidence of Kinjiro and Subaru walking together, which amazes him. He asks where she was watching them from, and she replies that during that time, she went shopping and saw him buying an animal present for Subaru, even embracing him. Usami accuses Kinjiro of forcing Subaru to do different things. Recently, she has even noticed Subaru acting more like a lady, just as the rumors say. Kinjiro admits to Usami's accusations that he has been forcing Subaru to do certain things and asks her to delete the pictures. Confidently, Usami tells Kinjiro to cooperate and accept her plan because she'll spread the pictures around the school. While Usami continues threatening Kinjiro, Kinjiro, Subaru finally finds him after looking for him in the class. With Subaru's sudden appearance, Usami gets surprised. Subaru asks who is there with him, and Kinjiro asks Usami to talk, but she refuses, saying that an average student can't converse with Subaru. She asks Kinjiro to explain everything to Subaru as her lover. Kinjiro introduces Usami to Subaru and tells Usami to explain, but instead, Usami says that Kinjiro promised to go on a date with her at the school festival. Subaru is shocked and kicks Kinjiro, calling him a big liar after he promised to be with her on the festival day in school. He collapses and promises Usami to be her lover, begging her not to spread the pictures. Shortly after, Usami starts preparing for the school festival and goes shopping with Kinjiro. She wears an outfit she thinks will make her look nice and asks Kinjiro to buy it for her. It turns out to be a swimsuit, and she says it would be embarrassing to buy it herself. When he refuses, she insists and finally gives him the swimsuit. Realizing the material feels warm, while Usami is still changing, she notices Kinjiro's silence and asks if he's smelling the cloth, calling him a stupid pervert, which shocks him. After shopping, Usami and Kinjiro decide to walk home. As they walk, Usami worries that he will get home late because he followed her. She says she has no choice but to walk home and tells him that no matter what happens, she needs him to trust her and that she'll put her faith in him too. Both of them become friends until the end and give each other nicknames. On the festival day at school, everyone sits enjoying themselves while Subaru serves them drinks. Everyone is amazed to see her dressed like a female and wants her to serve at their tables. Some are also at the reception taking their orders. Later, everyone changes into swimsuits, but their outfits reveal their bodies, so they use aprons to cover themselves. They have to be daring in front of those around them and their customers. Shortly after, Usami and Kinjiro walk together and she tells him to properly take the lead during their date. He wonders why it has to be him, but she replies that it's natural for a lover to do so and asks him to be a more confident partner to a female. She continues, saying he shouldn't compare himself to her because she has more experience, then urges him again to take the lead. She eventually calls him a boring guy. Moments later, Usami decides to teach Kinjiro how to take the lead. They sit together as she eats food and comments that food paid for by someone else always tastes better. That day, Usami and Kinjiro see some people's parents arriving unexpectedly to surprise their children. Usami decides to offer Kinjiro home-cooked food after their date, which amazes him. She continues, saying she would feel guilty if pampered like that. As Usami sits with Kinjiro, she lovingly tries to feed him, but feels embarrassed when he doesn't take the food. Just as he is about to eat, someone suddenly appears and pushes another type of food into his mouth. It's Subaru. Subaru does that because she wants to keep a close eye on him as a friend and ensure his relationship stays pure, which shocks Kinjiro. Later, as they walk, people watch them as Usami and Subaru hold Kinjiro's hands on both sides, making others jealous. Suddenly, Usami drags Kinjiro away from Subaru and asks how long she plans to follow them as lovers, but Subaru runs ahead. Subaru replies that it's part of her duty as Kinjiro's friend, but Usami objects, saying it's not normal since she is his girlfriend. When Usami moves closer to Kinjiro, Subaru can't take it anymore and suddenly hugs him too, causing his nose to bleed. Meanwhile, someone asks if they will go to the animal cafe, making Kinjiro ask for a break. Subaru agrees, and they enter the animal cafe. Koreah is serving there and is shocked to see her brother with Usami, while Subaru goes to check their store. At the animal cafe, Koreah serves Usami and Kinjiro drinks, warmly welcoming them. Kinjiro had no idea what Koreah's class was doing. Koreah doesn't realize Usami knows Kinjiro, which surprises her. Immediately, Usami cautions Koreah, reminding her how many times she's told her not to call her by that name. Koreah tells her not to be cold since they're friends, then hugs her and admires her body, especially her smooth skin. She advises Usami to start showing up for club activities again. Meanwhile, Subaru checks what's available in the animal cafe and later returns to ask Kinjiro for his opinion. As soon as Koreah spots Subaru, she approaches her in surprise. Subaru asks if the cafe belongs to their class, and Koreah replies yes as they begin discussing the items there. While Subaru and Koreah are talking, Kinjiro asks Usami why she doesn't get along with Koreah. Usami replies that she gets jealous of her and admits she wishes she had a family that gets along as well as Kinjiro and Koreah do. Usami remarks that she's starting to get tired of being around Kinjiro and asks why he doesn't just go to Subaru's side. He reminds her of their deal, but Usami realizes he isn't fun to be with. He agrees and goes over to Subaru's side, which shocks Usami. As Kinjiro walks up to Subaru and his sister, they ask him what color would be best, then walk away, leaving him behind. That shocks Kinjiro, and then another member of the Arts and Crafts Club approaches him, introducing herself as Narumi Nakuru, the president of the Warm Watch group. She gives him a drawing of Kinjiro and Subaru looking at each other through glasses, then suddenly throws the book away, surprising him at how the president could draw such a thing. Nakuru wonders what's wrong with the image, and Kinjiro explains how the glasses are overly emphasized. She says she knows glasses are a symbol of human culture, quoting a great man, "When there is no bread, let them wear glasses." Kinjiro then asks what she wants. She tells him to run away because of the secret activities between two groups and warns that he might get hurt. She advises him not to trust Usami too much, saying Usami plans to deceive the other group. Usami insists that their group believes in Kinjiro and Subaru, which confuses Kinjiro even more. Nakuru continues, saying the deal Usami made with him is a lie because she lacks authority over S4. Suddenly, Usami kicks Nakuru, not realizing who she is because her costume hides her face. Kinjiro asks if what Nakuru said is true, and Usami apologizes. As Usami tries to kick Kinjiro, Subaru blocks her, and Usami runs away after seeing her. Subaru asks Kinjiro what happened, but he stays silent so she doesn't push him and only asks again to confirm that they're still friends. Kinjiro explains that Subaru has fan clubs currently at war with each other. There will be a secret event, and if S4 wins, he'll be in danger. Subaru asks what he plans to do. Subaru walks up to Nakuru, who is still on the floor, and questions her. On the day of the secret event, Subaru and Kinjiro disguise themselves and join the group. As they start, the leader reveals her face, and Subaru and Kinjiro are shocked to see Kanade. She introduces herself as the master of ceremonies, but Kinjiro can't take it and shouts, making everyone notice them. Subaru's fans cheer when they see her, but Kanade postpones the fight, teasing what will happen to Kinjiro after the winner is decided. At another meeting, Subaru and Kinjiro join again. Kanade, as master of ceremony, asks Subaru if she's okay where she's sitting, and she replies that she's on the side that won't hurt anyone. Meanwhile, Usami feels bad for not joining the meeting. Kinjiro notices her absence and wonders where she might be. The two groups start a quiz, asking questions to see who will win. Subaru wonders why all the questions are about her when she doesn't know any. The final question carries the highest score. Who did Subaru kiss first? She ends up answering it herself, pointing at Kinjiro after he pleads with her because the question is awkward. That amazes Kinjiro, who explains when she kissed him. One group wins, but Kinjiro walks up to Kanade and asks her to intervene before they beat him up. She just enjoys this situation. When Kinjiro calls Kanade an evil sadist, she teases that it would have been better if she had been Subaru's first kiss. As the groups advance toward him, Kinjiro quickly declares that the person he likes is Kanade to protect himself. Everyone wonders why it's not Subaru and retreats. Even Kanade mocks him and rejects his confession before leaving, but he follows her. Subaru feels hurt hearing that. Kinjiro catches up with Kanade and tells her she did it on purpose. She says he shouldn't have made a false confession just to protect himself. Then she hugs him tightly as revenge, causing his nose to bleed, and says they'll continue the quiz after the festival. As Kanade leads, Kinjiro asks if Usami was part of the participants in the secret event. Kanade already knows something is going on between them and reveals that before the event started, Usami resigned from S4 because her presence wasn't remarkable. Hearing that, Kinjiro searches for Usami, remembering all her lies. He finds her at her favorite place holding a resignation letter. Usami explains that the first time she saw Subaru isolating herself, she thought someone was like her. She wanted to be friends, but later noticed Subaru had changed and started getting along with Kinjiro. Believing he caused the change, she tried befriending him too, but she realized Subaru changed on her own and began making friends naturally. Usami ends by saying she didn't like Kinjiro, Subaru, or even herself. Kinjiro asks her to wait, saying the festival isn't over yet because of their friendship deal. He drags her along as she wonders where they're going. She suddenly lets go as he reveals his own secret about gynophobia since she had shared hers. Now Usami realizes that people can't truly see each other's hearts. They only manage to build normal relationships, though that doesn't work for her because she tends to doubt others. While they talk, Kanade and Subaru appear. Subaru tells Kinjiro that Kanade already explained everything about his false confession, and Subaru apologizes for troubling him. Kinjiro also apologizes for acting alone and causing misunderstandings. Usami is about to leave when Kinjiro reintroduces her as his friend to Kanade and Subaru. Subaru walks up to Usami and tells her that as long as she's Kinjiro's friend, she's also hers. That amazes Usami as they hold hands. Suddenly, Koreah appears and separates their hands, telling Subaru she'll dance with her, and Subaru agrees. As Subaru is about to dance with Koreah, Kanade gives her a letter, and she discovers that Kinjiro truly wants to overcome his gynophobia. Later, on the roof, Kinjiro and Usami sit together. She assures him that she'll help him overcome his gynophobia as his friend. Then she asks him to call her by her first name, but when he does, she suddenly gets angry and kicks him. One day, Kinjiro tirelessly walks home, walks like an old man with no strength, and notices Subaru at the entrance of the gate holding drinks. She offers him a drink, and he takes it and feels refreshed but wonders why she is at the entrance. She tells him that there is something she wants to tell him and asks him to let them elope. She already knows that he won't understand it, but when she tries to explain further, he suddenly feels sleepy because of what is in the drink and collapses on her. She has no choice because it is Kanade's order. She perceives different scents on his clothes, including a girl's smell. Kinjiro wakes up in a strange room, while Kanade also sleeps beside him but greets him and asks how he is feeling. Terribly, Kinjiro discovers that because of Kanade, Subaru offered him a strange drink and apologizes because she was against the forceful act. In case he didn't wake up, she wonders what she would have done, and he also apologizes for the wrong accusations towards her. Kinjiro suddenly notices that time has gone because he met Subaru in the afternoon. That means Kanade gave Subaru plenty of the drug inside the drink. Later, Kinjiro and Kanade are together in the room, and he asks her where exactly they are, but she replies that they are in a hot springs inn near a beach. She continues that it is a place her family has connections with and that it is luxurious. She asks if he is surprised, but he says he is not only surprised but also wonders why they brought him to the place. She continues that there are many reasons for that, as Kanade further explains that she ran away from home because her parents wanted to travel overseas during the summer vacation and ignored her opinion. She continues that this will be her one and only summer vacation, as she is in her second year. But Kinjiro makes her understand that Kanade is deciding for him, but she replies that this is a great opportunity for them to cure him of gynophobia, as they hold training camp for it. The preparation has been made. She even asks Koreah to prepare some of his clothes because the trip is for both of them. Kinjiro appreciates Kanade's effort, but asks her to go to her room in order to change his clothes and finds out that they both have only one room. That shocks him. Kanade tells Kinjiro another reason for being in the inn together because she wants them to elope, marrying secretly, and expects Subaru would have told him. As they are talking, Subaru enters to tell Kanade that breakfast is ready. Kanade tells him she plans to go to the beach and that she needs some energy, then walks out. Subaru accuses Kanade and Kinjiro of kissing, and he objects, saying Kanade was just teasing him. He suggests they should go and have their own breakfast too. On their way, someone walks up to Kinjiro and thanks him for choosing the inn for their elopement. Kinjiro asks Subaru why the trip is called an elopement, but Subaru asks him if Kanade has told him the main reason. He replies that Kanade said she ran away because of a fight she had with her parents, and he wonders why she and Kanade always drag him along without his consent. Subaru defends herself, saying that he too always hides secrets from her, and then walks away. At the beach, Kanade tells Kinjiro that she didn't have a choice but to hide the secret from the people working in the inn, otherwise they would have brought her back home. Subaru walks up to them in a swimsuit, but is too shy to expose herself. Kanade wonders why it took her so long, then drags off the cloth she used to cover herself and exposes her, telling her not to be shy. Subaru informs Kinjiro that Kanade got her the swimsuit. He comments that it's not bad, and she appreciates the comment. Kinjiro asks Subaru to swim then, but Kanade tells him not to swim yet, that they should start the long-awaited treatment, and teases him, asking if he can put the cream on her. They start the treatment as Kinjiro applies cream on Kanade's back. She starts screaming sexually. Kinjiro wonders if her screams are on purpose. Even though he still has a nosebleed because she talks sexually too, he finally concludes that if he continues to have nosebleeds, his life will be over. Then he looks up and sees different ladies in underwear as Kanade appreciates his fingers on her back, but he disagrees. Subaru walks up and asks Kinjiro for suggestions on a game to play but runs away to buy drinks. As he leaves, Kanade mocks him as she lies down, and Subaru asks her if Kinjiro knows their little secret, but she says they didn't tell him. However, Kinjiro gets to where he will buy drinks and notices that all the waitresses are wearing swimsuits that make them look hot. Then a small boy accidentally hits him and his glasses fall and need to be washed. When he gets to the waitress area, she compliments him for looking good without glasses. He realizes the lady is Nakuru from the Warm Watch group, and as she tries to put the glasses on him, another lady kicks her. The other lady turns out to be Usami, who wonders what he is doing there. Later, Koreah also appears there, amazing Kinjiro by seeing them all in the same location. Everyone gathers to eat, including Kinjiro, Nakuru, Usami, and Koreah. While eating, Nakuru compliments Kinjiro for the food because they haven't eaten since morning. Kinjiro asks them about their part-time camp training they told him they were going for. Koreah explains how they were supposed to swim to an uninhabited place but saw a big fish that tried to swallow them. They all got scared and separated to rescue themselves, and all their belongings are with the club president. As they are talking, Koreah comments that since Kinjiro is there now, they are safe. She also wonders that where Kanade went is the same place where they are. But Usami wonders if he has another sister because Koreah calls Kanade by another name. Then Usami wonders why Kinjiro would go on a trip with Kanade. As he is about to explain, his phone rings and Nakuru finds out that it is Subaru calling him. He picks up and she asks what took him so long to buy the drink. He tells her something came up and she says she will come to where he is. As he sees Subaru and Kanade walking toward them, he excuses himself from their midst and gives Subaru her glasses to put on because they all think that Subaru is a male, even though she is wearing a revealing swimsuit. Shortly after, as Kinjiro gives Subaru her glasses to put on, Koreah runs out of the shop and wonders why Kinjiro excused himself from their midst. Koreah suddenly sees Subaru dressed like a girl. Kanade confuses her, saying that she is Subaru's cousin, since Subaru's family is nearby and Subaru herself is on her way. Kanade properly introduces Subaru as her cousin because of her appearance, calling her Puniru. Kinjiro whispers to her, asking how she expects her to believe that, but Koreah suddenly believes it. Kanade continues that Puniru is in her first year like Koreah, and also adds that Puniru is very close to her. Kanade collapses as the other ladies join them and are shocked to see her because she has created a terrible situation. Later, the other ladies are shocked to see Subaru's cousin with glasses, but Nakuru notices that the glasses were the ones she gave to Kinjiro and wonders how they are on Subaru's cousin. Kinjiro defends her, saying she lost her glasses at the beach. After a moment, Nakuru appreciates the glasses on her. Usami whispers to Kinjiro, asking why he lied about the glasses. Kinjiro and Usami go outside to talk more. Usami is shocked to see Subaru's hobby of cross-dressing and is amazed at how she can change into different genders. She gets nervous being around Subaru and catches Kanade eavesdropping. Kanade finds it a coincidence to meet Usami in that location. Usami wonders why Kanade would travel with Kinjiro to that location too. Kanade confidently says that it is normal to travel with Kinjiro as her friend, but Usami objects, saying it's not normal at all. Kanade then decides to confess that Kinjiro is her fiancé, which surprises Usami. She continues that they are in the middle of an elopement, sharing the same hotel room and even slept together last night. Usami knows Kanade is lying since she knows Kinjiro well. Still at the beach, Subaru walks around and hears Usami talking to Kanade about inviting Kinjiro to her house and cooking potatoes and meat stew for him. Usami adds that Kinjiro was the first person to see her in a swimsuit and that they had skin-to-skin contact. Subaru listens to their conversation and realizes Kinjiro's clothes smell like potatoes and meat stew with a girly scent. Subaru can't take it and runs away, but Kinjiro runs after her. Meanwhile, Kanade asks Usami where she will stay overnight. Kinjiro runs after Subaru and later stops. Subaru tells him that her suspicion was right, that he is really going out with Usami. No matter the case, she says she is not angry and will surely give him her blessing as a friend, asking him to go back to his girlfriend. He asks her why she doesn't understand the situation. It's true he went to Usami's house because she promised to cook a delicious meal for him, but that's the only good part about it. He continues, explaining that Usami undressed in front of him, wearing only underwear, and started her own treatment by pressing her body on top of him. He had a nosebleed, and on his way back, she gave him a sleepy drink, then punched him and called him an idiot. He tells Subaru that's why he didn't want to talk about it. She now understands that there is no relationship between them and that her heart beats for him. Later in the day, Usami begs Kanade to allow her to stay at the hotel with them while Koreah and Usami watch them, but Kinjiro and Subaru walk up to them. Usami finds Kinjiro behind her and tells him what Kanade has been doing, making her kneel and beg to stay with them. Kanade deceives them, saying she is about to let her stay together and also allows Koreah and the crew to follow her, commenting that it will be more fun. But Usami wonders why she did not make Koreah and Nakuru kneel too. Suddenly, Subaru's father, Nagari, appears among them and comes to take Kanade home, which shocks both Kanade and Subaru. Kanade denies meeting Subaru's father before and introduces him to them as Subaru's father. He even asks Subaru to come over, saying her father is around, but she also denies knowing him, calling him a stranger. Nagari tells Subaru to go back home and even begs Kanade to convince her. Subaru denies him again, insisting that she is Puniru, and he warns her to stop the act. But Puniru tells him to stop, or she'll call the police. That shocks Nagari and everyone else, including Kinjiro.